Welcome, Halon Elsa.
A long time ago in Arendelle, the summer sun beat down on the kingdom as people celebrated with music and dancing at the annual Fire and Ice Festival. But our favorite Ice Queen, Elsa, was nowhere to be found. She was taking a solitary walk along the beach when suddenly the ground began to shake. A massive landslide was barreling down on her, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. But just as the rocks were about to crush her, a fiery hot stranger emerged from the dust cloud. He shielded her with his body, protecting her with his incredible fire powers. When the smoke cleared, Elsa found herself face to face with the mysterious stranger who had saved her life. His name was Ignis, and he was a powerful firebender who could control flames with the flick of his wrist. Ignis had been traveling the world, searching for someone to help him put out a fire that had been burning inside of him for years. When he felt Elsa's icy powers, he knew she was the one. Although Ignis and Elsa were complete opposites, they couldn't deny the sparks that were flying between them. So they decided to explore their powers together, starting with a little experiment. Ignis concentrated his powers, sending a wall of fire soaring towards Elsa. With a wave of her magic, she froze the flames in their tracks, creating an awesome ice sculpture of a bird. Ignis was mesmerized by the way Elsa's powers worked. He had never seen anything like it before, and as he watched her, his heart began to melt, quite literally. Ignis had never met anyone as cool as Elsa. If only she could see how hot he was. The two spent the entire day playing with their powers, creating amazing works of art out of both ice and fire. For the first time in her life, Elsa felt like she didn't have to hide her powers. She could just let them flow through her and not worry about hurting anyone. Ignis felt the same way. He had never met anyone who accepted him for who he was, both his good and his bad. As the sun began to set, Ignis and Elsa sat on a nearby hill overlooking the kingdom. They talked for hours, sharing their hopes and dreams for the future. Ignis told Elsa that he wanted to travel the world, using his powers to help people. Elsa admitted that she had been struggling with her powers lately and didn't know what to do with them. Ignis took Elsa's hand in his, and for a moment, they just looked at each other. The sky was filled with fireworks as the people of Arendelle celebrated the Fire and Ice Festival. And as the clock struck midnight, Ignis let go of Elsa's hand. He didn't want to hurt her. He knew that he was too powerful for her and that he could icily burn her with his magic. But Elsa wasn't scared. She had never felt this way before. So powerful, so connected to someone else. Suddenly, Ignis felt a wild surge of power. Before he knew what was happening, he was engulfed in flames. The fire spread quickly, blocking the path back to Arendelle. Ignis tried to put himself out, but it was no use. The more he struggled, the worse it got. Seeing that Ignis was in trouble, Elsa knew she had to do something. She stepped forward and raised her hands, sending a blast of freezing cold air towards the flames. The fire began to slow down, then stopped completely. When the dust settled, Elsa walked over to the pile of ashes and with a wave of her magic, turned them into a beautiful sculpture of Ignis. But it wasn't just any sculpture. It was a sculpture of Ignis and Elsa together, their powers intertwined, symbolizing their love for each other. Ignis was speechless. He had never seen anything like it. The townspeople emerged from their homes, drawn by Elsa's powerful magic. When they saw the sculpture, they gasped in awe. For the first time in history, the Ice Queen and the Firebender had come together to create something truly special. In that moment, Ignis and Elsa knew that their love would bring balance to the kingdom of Arendelle forever. Thanks for watching. If you liked this story, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel to never miss an upload. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified about new releases. We all know Elsa's greatest love story is with her sister Anna. But have you ever wondered who might have been the first person she ever loved? Well, wonder no more, because today we bring you the tale of how Elsa saved the life of a lost baby in the blizzard and hid them away in the castle, away from the prying eyes of the Arendelle Council. It was a dark and stormy night. The wind howled, and snow swirled outside of Elsa's bedroom window. As the Queen of Arendelle, she had the entire castle to herself, since everyone had gone down to the village for the night to avoid the blizzard. Suddenly, above the sound of the wind and the rain, Elsa thought she heard a noise. A small cry from somewhere outside. Concerned, she pulled on her heavy cloak and stepped out into the hallway. She listened intently. Was that a baby crying? She couldn't be sure. The storm was raging and the sound of the wind made it hard to tell. But just to be sure, Elsa decided to step outside. As she opened the heavy oak doors and stepped onto the balcony, the wind almost knocked her off her feet. She quickly pulled her cloak tighter around her and looked out at the swirling snow. And then she heard it again, a faint cry. It sounded like it was coming from somewhere in the forest. Without hesitation, Elsa knew she had to do something, even though the storm was at its worst and the wind threatened to pull her right off the balcony. She took a deep breath, let out her ice powers, and glided down to the ground below. She would find whoever was out here in the storm and bring them back to the safety of the castle. She searched for what felt like hours, but all she found were trees covered in snow and the occasional animals scurrying for cover. Just when she was about to give up hope, she saw something in the distance. It was small and huddled in a ball, and it was definitely crying. As she got closer, she could see that it was a baby. And not just any baby, a baby girl with long flowing hair and skin as white as snow. Elsa carefully picked her up and wrapped her in a blanket that she had conjured up from thin air. Then she cradled her close and started humming a soft lullaby. The baby girl stopped crying and looked up at her with big blue eyes. Arendelle was under the rule of the Royal Council, a group of 5 elder caretakers who had been put in charge of the kingdom while Elsa was away. And they had one very important rule: no magic. The people of Arendelle had grown afraid of Elsa's powers ever since the accidental destruction of the dam, and so she had agreed to hide any magical traces of her powers so that the townspeople wouldn't get scared. However, having a half-frozen baby in the castle was bound to raise some magical eyebrows. So Elsa decided to hide the baby in the castle's nursery, hoping that no one would notice. For the first few days, everything went according to plan. No one entered the nursery, and no one suspected that Elsa was hiding a baby in the castle. But then one day, one of the council members, an older woman named Gertrude, entered the nursery to check on something. And when she saw the baby, she immediately began to question Elsa. How had this baby gotten here? Where did it come from? Elsa lied and said that she didn't know, that she had found the baby in the forest, and she had nowhere else to take her. She couldn't just leave her out in the snow, could she? Gertrude didn't believe her. But before she could question her further, Elsa used her powers to make a snowstorm outside, blocking out the sun and plunging the castle into darkness. When Gertrude asked her why she had done that, Elsa simply said that she didn't want anyone else to see the baby. That was enough for Gertrude. She knew that Elsa had done something she wasn't supposed to, but she also knew that she wasn't going to get to the bottom of it. With a warning to be more careful in the future, Gertrude left the nursery and went to go report back to the council. But before she could even get to the meeting room, she began to feel ill. All of the magical traces that Elsa had hidden around the castle, the paintings that moved when no one was looking, the furniture that magically rearranged itself, and the flowers that bloomed out of season, they were all reacting to the presence of the baby. And as Gertrude made her way through the castle, these magical traces became more and more agitated. By the time she reached the council, her face was pale and she was sweating. She told them that she was feeling ill and needed to lie down, but the council, worried that it was their magic at work, insisted that she'll stay and talk to them. And as they questioned her, more and more magical things began to happen around them. Suddenly, the room began to shake and the walls started to crumble. The council, panicked, ran out of the room, leaving Gertrude behind. And as they fled, she saw something no one else had seen yet. In the center of the room, where the baby's cradle had been, a single flower was growing. It pushed through the ice, its petals as white as snow, and bloomed in the most beautiful shade of blue. Gertrude understood then that the baby wasn't just any baby. She was divine, and her magic was far more powerful than they could ever imagine. We hope you enjoyed this tale. If you did, please leave us a like and a comment, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share the videos to help our channel grow even more. Thank you so much.